This is DaveNoseMMA.
I'm a really big fan of Chael Sonnen's podcast. It's called You're Welcome. He also has a short-form podcast released every so often, and that's called Beyond the Fight. In fact, I straight up copied the format from Beyond the Fight for my little outlet here. I've always enjoyed hearing Sonnen express his viewpoint. I find he does a really good job of giving the perspective of both a fighter and a promoter. I find it especially interesting when he talks about things from the promoter's perspective and what it takes to put off a live show. I think most fans don't really take into consideration what goes into the production of a live MMA/combat sports event, and I think it's good to hear a viewpoint from the other side of the fence from time to time, just to keep things into perspective. I've been listening to his podcast since day one, so it's impossible for me to recall which episode he said this. But at one point, Chael said something that always stuck out in my mind, and that's this. Hardcore MMA fans make up 15% of the MMA fan base. Firstly, that's interesting to me because it's a statistic that I've never really considered or thought about before. And secondly, because I thought it was shockingly low. Do us MMA nuts really only make up significantly less than a quarter of the MMA fan base? I'm not disputing the stat, by the way. I have no doubt that if old Uncle Chael threw it out there, that it came from as good a source as any. It's just, I'm baffled by that number. So the question that comes to mind when I hear the stat is this. What is the definition of a hardcore fan? I don't know. I guess I would consider a hardcore fan someone who visits the MMA media websites on a daily basis, watches 80% of the pay-per-views, someone who's very up-to-date on upcoming fights and the trials and tribulations of what's going on with fighters from the most notable and famous guys and girls on the roster, right on down to the folks getting $2,500 from Reebok a fight. There are many ways to try to pinpoint and sum up what makes a hardcore fan, I suppose. For example, if you hear the name Jeff Nowitzki and know exactly who he is, I'd say you're a hardcore fan. So back to the actual number and trying to process exactly what it means. You mean to tell me if I'm at a UFC event in an arena of 15,000 fans, only 2,250 of them know the backgrounds and the storylines of the competitors performing that night? And that the other 12,750 couldn't tell you that the owners of Zuffa's names are Frank and Lorenzo Fertitta of Station Casino Gaming Empire? Is the bubble really that small? I'd like to think we account for a lot more than that, but the more I think about this, I'm realizing that may be wishful thinking. I don't really know what to say. As previously mentioned, I'm not an expert, I'm just some guy, but what do you think? Do we really only make up 15% of the fan base? Where did that number come from? Are we that insignificant to the MMA brass? No matter what the case is, I believe the number of fight fans overall is growing as time goes on, and with that, the number of diehard fans will also grow. So I'm optimistic that our clan will prevail going forward, but 15%? Damn.